Lights, camera, action. Join the Stream team with Strick and Brant and be a part of the Stream Network. Our goal is really simple. We're here to help you succeed.
We live? Yeah. Strick City. Woo! Strick City. All over the world.
Strick City, man, we live. Yo, Strick City on the ride. Yo, look like surprise. Yo, taking your city like we live. Yo, man, we live. Yo, taking your city like surprise. Yo, on the ride. Yo, Strick City coming live. Yo.
Hey man, you got me. It's Strick City. Y'all know what time it is. Do me a favor. Like if you're watching this, I need you to tell your friends that you're watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please do that. Subscribe, and then here's and people that are putting out content that have been at the conference, man, I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us at Leap Into Live. We're actually doing the after show. So we'll do it again tonight. So you'll see me with Alicio a little bit later on. That being said, tonight I wanted to continue to do my show, and I have a gentleman here that, man, he's blessing me with his presence. That's all I can say. I've known him for a while, and you know, a lot of times when we meet is in is moments where he's going to be preaching, like at our church, like he's a guest. He's been a guest minister at New Rising Star Church, the Star, and my role is just make sure everybody is in the right place, doing the right thing. So I never had an opportunity to really say, hey, this is what I do. This is my show. Can you come be on? So I reached out to him recently, and he was like, sure, Strick, I'll do it. So I'm excited about it, man. This is going to be really cool tonight. And I appreciate everybody that's already in the comments. Ebony, thank you so very much. Hello to you. Thank you for hanging out with us. And man, we got some people showing some heart love to us tonight. If you guys, please make a comment. I want to know that you're here with us tonight. And of course, man, the bishop is going to be doing his thing. So without further ado, I want to bring him to the stage. Man, well accomplished, well known. He is the bishop of the Alabama Full Gospel Church Fellowship, and he is the pastor of All Nations Church Fairfield, none other than, come on, man, what you doing? None other than Jonathan L. Woods. What's going on, brother?
What's up? What's up, my man, DJ Strick? Glad to be on tonight.
Man, I am so happy that you are here, and that we get a chance to kind of chop it up outside of other ministry stuff going on. I having to get prepared for preaching engagement or something. Now I can just kind of conversate with you. We can actually talk and really connect like I want to, because again, man, it goes so fast. Like when you're at church somewhere, you always want to be hospitable to a pastor that's coming in to preach, and you know, not ask a ton of questions that has nothing to do with what's going on that night, right?
Right.
I'm sure you get that all the time. So I guess I can start right there. You know, when you're actually traveling as a traveling pastor, how is it? Are you in the places where most people understand how to be hospitable to pastors as you travel? Or are you in those spaces where we probably should do a class on how to be host and how to have hospitality in some of our churches. What is it like for you?
Man, I tell you, I've preached so many places, Strick, and you know, the culture varies wherever you go. And I've been graced to be in a lot of great places.
That's good.
You guys' church being one of those churches. I love coming to the Star, but definitely you go to some places that they don't have things in order, things in place, and you know, there's you're guessing where you got to go, and a lot is going on. So.
Right.
You know, you run into those places and you see that there needs to be a little more training. That's one of my passions, help ministries come up to a subpar level so they can do what they do. and represent God well.
Man, that's awesome that you would say that. So, how do you handle that dichotomy of being a pastor and then being a bishop or overseer for the state of Alabama with full gospel? How do you balance that?
Whoo, Strick, man, that's a wonderful question. And let me just say, it is a very difficult task. Um, Not by any stretch of the imagination is it easy, and it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of focus. I would say the wisdom of God,
Got it.
the
Got it.
help of God is so key. Because when you are a pastor, you pastor your local congregation, but when you are a bishop, you are a pastor of pastors,
Right.
and you have in our language what you call jurisdictional authority. So you're overseeing other churches and pastors for your superior, and it requires a lot of effort, a lot of insight. People come to you with their domestic needs on a ministerial level, and so you're trying to balance too, because you have to be the voice
Right.
for both platforms. You know, it is a complex duality, and you got to be able to put on your bishop hat when you need to put on your bishop hat, and then you have to be able to put on your pastor hat when you put on your pastor hat. And I'm a husband and a father first before all of that.
Right.
So balancing all of that is, it takes the grace of God, because I believe that if you're going to be an effective, relevant leader, you have to be constantly developing yourself.
That's good.
So, you have to spend time with your spouse, spend time with your children. You got to self develop,
Right.
spiritually develop, so that you will not be pouring from an empty vessel. And then you have to constantly keep fresh vision for your church, fresh vision for your jurisdiction. And it takes a special anointing to be able to do it. And by God's grace, I'm still standing after 2 years. So
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
I'm
talking
grateful,
about.
man.
Man, that's awesome. So before I ask the next question, I really want to stay in this lane with you, but I have to say this. Definitely big shouts out to Alicia Way. I'm gonna be on with him later on today. He's hanging out with us, and man, we have tons of people. Ernest, Major, Quentin. Who else is
Yes,
there?
yes. My
Another
people.
Ernest. All your people.
All nations, what's
Yeah,
up,
All Nation
fam?
is in the house
I love
tonight.
y'all.
So Sherry, big shouts out.
Yes, Sherry.
Linda,
That's my
Dorothy,
personal assistant.
there you go. So people are really, really hanging out. So Chris Thomas has changed his name to Fishing now. So that's what's up. So that's what he likes to do. I
Yes,
saw some of his stuff on live, man. He has a cool
yes.
heart. And Kombucha, thanks for hanging out with me. All right. Thanks
Mm.
for coming through, Kombucha. And who else?
Hey,
Man,
y'all.
hey now, Monique. So you have like the praise and worship leader. What would say? So as a DJ, they say I'm your DJ's favorite DJ. So Monique is like the praise and worship leader's favorite praise and worship leader. Love this young
Yes,
lady for what she provides, like for the praise and worship community. Man, you have some awesome people over there with you.
man, to God be the glory. Yes, Monique Henry is the guru of praise and worship
That's what's up.
all around. And Monique has been rocking with me close to, I know, probably about 11 years now. And, God is so faithful, because I knew her mom before I met her. And it's just the providential hand of God that, the Lord put us together. And
That's cool.
I tell you, Monique is just a great leader, great inspiration to all of us, and a blessing to all nations.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So this is something I was thinking about because I've been around full gospel for a very long time, and
Yeah.
especially full gospel pastors. And there is a prerequisite that I fit, Bishop. I guess I have to throw my name in a hat, man. I'm a singer too. I can sing and preach. Like
Oh, I
you got
love
to
it.
be able to sing to be a full gospel pastor, man. You got to be able to sing.
That's right. That's right. If you're gonna come up under, or behind rather, Bishop Paul Sylvester Morton, you need to have
Yeah.
some type of musical ability.
Yes, you do.
If you can do that, full gospel is the place for you for sure.
Man, I went to it was a tragic moment. One of my friends lived in college, lived in Mobile, and was going home, and actually fell asleep at the
Mm,
wheel and passed. And she went to his church. So we all went down to the funeral, and it was my first time really being introduced to him. And this man preached a funeral like I have never ever seen in my whole entire life. Like
yes,
it marked me. Like I still remember like the whole scene, everything that he did. He preached and he sang. As a deer pants after water, it was over with, man. It was
yes,
over with.
sir.
I mean, we
Yes,
needed we
sir.
needed that comfort at that time, because we lost a good friend, but also to see the level of ministry. And I'm talking about more than 20 years ago. That's awesome, man. To even to be able to be in an organization that was led by such a gift, gift to the
Yes,
body.
yes. Bishop Morton is one of the most anointed voices of our day. He's literally a general in the faith, and he's one that has touched many, many lives across denominational lines. What I love about Bishop Morton is he is so humble.
Right.
He has that calm and touch, but a lot of people don't know he actually sat on the Religious Advisory Council for President Obama.
Didn't know that.
And yes, yes. And President Obama said this out of his mouth that out of everyone on his council, he respected Bishop Morton the most because when others would kind of just agree with him because he was the president, Bishop Morton would challenge him and disagree with him. And that really built the respect mechanism that he had for Bishop Morton, man. But it's an honor. Bishop Morton is really the main physical reason, if you will, why I'm in Full Gospel. I don't know
Wow.
if you remember, Strick, Full Gospel came to Birmingham in 2008, and I
I
became
re-
senior pastor in 2008.
I got
Yeah,
you. I got you. When they
yeah,
came to, I actually hosted a dinner when they came
yeah,
at the BJCC. They asked me to come in
absolutely.
to host something, so I remember that, and I used that same joke I started with you with Full Gospel. I used that same joke because there's a whole bunch of singers in the crowd. I say it's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
singing pastors in here.
absolutely, absolutely, bro.
That's
Yes, sir.
that's
You
that's
you know
something
you
else,
know
man.
William Murphy's a part of our
I
our
do.
Reformation.
I do.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that. I'm very familiar with man. As soon as I say that, I can see his face down in Montgomery. Man, what's that guy's name?
Frederick Hardy.
Hardy. Hardy. I know.
Yeah,
I've known Hardy for a long time.
that's my guy.
Yeah. There's a bunch of people that are around from Full Gospel that I really
Mhm.
appreciate the gifts, and then having. And I guess I ask you this question because I don't know all the facets of what you do or what the fellowship does for pastors. Can you
Mhm.
explain that a little bit, like how the fellowship, the Full Gospel Fellowship, actually helps and supports local pastors?
Full Gospel, and that's a great question. Full Gospel, man, has been a ministry hub for many years to help pastors who are kind of stuck in an antiquated way of doing ministry come up to a more modernized, more relevant way of doing ministry while keeping the flow of the Spirit. Sometimes in our attempt to become modern, we become too far to the left, if you will, in terms of not really letting the Spirit still work in our churches. And so, Full Gospel is that. It's that hub, man. I tell a lot of pastors, if they really want to take their ministry to the next level, Full Gospel is the place to do it. Bishop Joseph Warren Walker III, is our international presiding bishop, man. And a
Okay.
lot of people know Bishop Walker pastors one of the largest African American churches in the nation, 33,000 members. He's a thought leader, he is a relevant leader. And Bishop Walker has been instrumental in really building and molding our fellowship to get pastors to the next dimension intellectually, technologically, from a relevant perspective, so that we can keep discipling souls for Jesus in this 21st century. And a lot of pastors are stuck because they don't have that exposure. They know that there's more, but they haven't seen it. They don't know where to find it. And so Full Gospel is that hub where you can get those resources, you can get that impartation, you can get that exposure so that you can take your ministry to the next level and maximize on your ability as a spiritual leader.
I love it. I love it. So on a day to day or week to week or month to month, what is your role? Like, what are you actually doing? Are you connecting with other pastors? Are you doing conferences, doing leaderships? Actually, I got a chance to sit in on one of the conferences you guys did for the pastors. I thought it was really cool. But could you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit as well? And All Nations, I want to say, y'all hold up. We're going to talk about All Nations in just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So don't go nowhere. We're just talking
Don't go
about
anywhere, fam.
exactly. We're talking about the fellowship just a minute. Then we're going to talk about what's happening at All Nations.
Yes. So strict man on a weekly flow, our state is comprised of districts. We
Okay.
have the Northern District, the Birmingham Metro District, the Mobile Metro District, the Gulf South District, the East Alabama District. These districts are comprised of churches. Now they have overseers that oversee them. Those overseers are responsible for creating fellowship, for creating continuity and community with those churches so that the needs that they have, be it domestic, be it spiritual, be it technological, whatever type of needs they need from a resourceful perspective, we provide that for
Okay.
them on a weekly basis and give them that access. My job as bishop is just to make sure that's happening on those districts. And I typically build strong relationship with the overseers so that they can talk to me about what's going on. They can hear my voice as it relates to what they need to be doing. And it's a collaboration. And we come together annually for our state conference, which is coming up in a
Okay.
few weeks. It's going to be virtual this year because of COVID, but we come together annually to spark that fire, ignite that fire in our state to get pastors spiritually uplifted, intellectually and technologically uplifted, so that they can go back into their local context and do ministry. That's what we provide here on a state level. It's life changing. It's like providing a meal, if you will. If you've ever been invited to dinner at someone's house, they already have everything together. All you have to do is show up. And
That's
that's what
good.
full gospel is.
That's good.
It's a meal that's already prepared for hungry people. And Strick, I always emphasize that I'm not just looking for any pastor,
Gotcha.
but I'm looking for hungry pastors, pastors who want to see the kingdom of God expand, who want
Mm-hmm.
to grow, who want to expand their bandwidth and their reach in the kingdom. Full Gospel is the place for those types of leaders. I'm telling you, it's transformative, and it's life changing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, how is it for you to actually lead Full
Uh huh.
Gospel in the state of Alabama and also lead All Nations through this pandemic? Like, this has got to be like, it's got to be tough. It has to be hard to have all those responsibilities, and this pandemic has shut down the country and also closed the church doors. How has it been for you?
Strict man, as people of faith, sometimes we fail to be transparent. We cancel out transparency in the name of over spiritualizing everything and magnifying our faith, man. But if I could just be real about it, it's been stressful to
Gotcha.
say the least.
Gotcha.
It's been extremely stressful because the needs of the people multiplied in this pandemic. People had to face a context of life that they never could have dreamed of, socially distancing, wearing masks, quarantine for quite some time.
Right.
It was a psychological conundrum. The minds of the people were stretched to the max, and people really reached for leadership. And I've heard a lot of pastors say this, man. I've said it multiple times. We worked harder in the pandemic than we've ever worked.
Right. Right.
Although we were not gathering, in the physical space, we were working harder, trying to create content to keep the people encouraged, trying to keep up with our membership, trying to make ourselves available to those who just needed to hear our voice, providing resources to those who were not qualifying for some of the governmental substantial things that the government allowed, like the PPP loans and
Right.
different things of that nature. You had to certify
Right.
for a lot of that stuff. And, people that their churches are more on an emerging level where they're under 200 members, they don't have paid staff, they were not able to get that type of help. So,
Right.
really, man, it was very stressful. It was very tiring. My mind was stretched. A lot went on, and I didn't want anybody to be neglected. So I had to be very strategic in deputizing and delegating and administrating to make sure that everybody knew that we were concerned, that we were covering them, and that we cared.
Right. Right. And during that time, not only did you have all that going on, but am I right in saying you also had some health issues during that time as well?
So 2020 was a very difficult year for me. I got ill. Well, I actually went through a series of illnesses last year. I took a sabbatical in July just to recover spiritually and mentally the entire month. And then while I was out, I went to a doctor's appointment because I was dealing with this chronic hoarseness in my voice, found out that I had these large nodules on my vocal cords.
Wow.
And so my physician forbid me to preach until he did surgery. So I had to have surgery there, was out an additional 4 weeks, went through therapy to get my voice back to where it needed to be. Soon as I returned back to the pulpit, I get ill again and get placed in the hospital, go out 2 major surgeries. In fact, out of a 52 Sunday year, I probably was out about 24 Sundays last year.
Wow. Wow.
So it was a lot of illness and still trying to navigate your people through a pandemic and still trying to be a husband and a father and covering the church, covering the state. My faith was really tested,
Okay.
and the illness was very serious. I was dealing with something called diverticulitis.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
I
it's
haven't.
it's an intestinal issue, and it's when you get these little ridges in your intestines and food gets caught in your intestines. It creates these flare-ups that can cause your colon to perforate and leak poison into your body. So it's life-threatening.
Wow. I did
And
not know
I
that.
ended up, yeah, 14 inches of my colon had to be taken out in order
Wow.
to save my life.
Wow.
And yes, I went through a series of things with that. Because the surgery was there was so much damage within my abdominal area, they had to route my small intestine on the outside of my body. And I
Wow.
lived like that for 8 weeks. I came
Wow.
back to church after surgery and preached with an intestine coming out of my side.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
didn't tell my people until after it was over. I didn't want them to be focused on that or worried about me. But
Right.
I'm a true testament, Strick, of the grace, the mercy, power of God, that when you go through a tremendous trial, God has a way of strengthening you through that trial, helping you to overcome it and be a model of perseverance to show others that God can carry you through any storm if you just trust Him. And that's exactly where I was in
Wow.
2020.
So I mean, this time with the pandemic and the health issues, man, tell me what deep down inside, like you were feeling, or even the testimony that you have, like what you think God may have been saying to you.
Oh man, a series of things. Ultimately, God was slowing me down, so I could really hear fresh vision.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot about, taking parenthetic moments. especially for those of us that are high level leaders. Sometimes we continue to function, but we're running on fumes and we're operating in this grace of our gift, but fresh vision is not being birthed. Our fire has gone out, but we feel like we are stuck in the prison of leadership,
Okay.
and we have to keep showing up. But God showed me during my downtime that things can go on without me. Like
Okay.
the church rolled on. you know,
Okay.
people were joining. I mean, the giving stayed up, everything went on. And so God was showing me that there were times, when you look in scripture, there were times when Moses would get away from the people in order to get a fresh instruction from the Lord.
That's right.
And a lot of times we fail to advance our organizations and our churches because we're constantly functioning on the old instructions, and you cannot get new instructions when you're too busy and itinerant. You got to settle down. And so now, now that I have this understanding, God will never have to sit me down again,
Okay.
because
Come on now.
every year I'm practicing what I call uh, my Sabbath months.
Okay.
July is going to be my Sabbath month, where I
Okay.
leave and don't do any preaching, don't do any ministry. I go and be refreshed so we can keep rocking and rolling as a ministry.
I love it. I love it. I will tell anybody this: if you go through some things, whether if health conditions or even like the pandemic, on the other side of that, there should be some lessons learned and some things you say, hey, because of this, I'm now doing this to help make sure that I continue to go. Some people would say, well, if it's the pandemic, well, I'm making sure that my saving level is at a place to where if the pandemic happens, it doesn't hurt me. Or
Yes.
hey, I say this when it comes to people, like when you mature in your relationship with God, it's one or two things that happen. Either you can mature to the place that you get on your knees, or God can get you on your knees. I've learned that I'd rather say, God, I know you well enough to know that I need to be in communication with you on my knees. I'm going to get on my knees because he sure
Absolutely.
knows how to get you down there.
He does, man. You're nailing it. In fact, there are so many different lessons to extract from that type of experience. Another one for me was appreciating more the people who labor with me, my co-laborers here in the ministry, and really believing in them more. Trusting the impartation and the pour that I've invested in them, because sometimes we limit people's ability to grow and soar
Right.
because we always want to protect them. It's like your children, in the context of parenting today, parents are a lot more hands on with their children in a sense. And, and because of that, or sometimes we overdo it with trying to protect them from pain and protect them from life. And as a consequence, when it's their time to live life, they're not prepared because we've overly embellished our role as parents. And
Got you.
sometimes you find out what's in the children when you step back and let them handle things. And I found out that, man, my church is pretty doggone good,
That's
because they
what's
were
up.
able to hold it down. They flowed in excellence. In fact, your pastor, Pastor Thomas Beavers, I got to shout out him because he preached for me while I was in the hospital.
Wow, that's
He
awesome.
stood behind the sacred desk and preached for his brother, and I really appreciate him for that. It meant a lot to me.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you started to go down this path, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think it's so
You
important,
good?
especially when you have good people that have helped you. You shouted out Pastor Thomas Beaver, my guy. But tell me about some of the folks that are there with you. We talked about your praise and worship leader, Monique Henry. So tell me about some of those folks that did stand in the stead. The positions that they play and how they help you now at your church.
Wow, Strick, I don't want to get in trouble, but I will. If I forget your name, charge it to my head and not my heart. But I want to start with my wife. My wife is the co-pastor of our church. She pastors the church with me, and she holds it down, 10 toes down. Whenever anything goes down, she was holding it down at home. She was
Wow.
still making sure things went well at church. And then we have an amazing executive pastor, one of my spiritual sons, Elder Kenneth Madden, who is just a gift to the body of Christ. I was able to raise him up as a young minister to where he is now, and he's on his grown man stuff. I mean, handling things administratively, and
That's
then of
cool.
course our e-campus pastor, which he wasn't at the time, but those guys, they have a strong sense of collaboration. They're very vigilant, making sure that our structure and our systems at our church are flowing properly. My personal assistant, Linda Jones, she literally came to bat for me because she always makes sure that when I was in a season like that, well, I'm gonna say was because I don't plan to ever be down like that, but she protected me. Let the
Got you.
people know who to contact because a lot of times when leaders are out strict, when they're sick, or when something catastrophic happens, there are no instructions.
Right.
There's no system or protocol. Who do we go to for this? There's a lot of confusion left behind. But those key individuals, of course, my worship leader, our musicians, our band, our media people, all of our worship and arts ministry, our dancers, everybody held it down, made sure the atmosphere was cultivated, and made sure that church felt like church. Although Bishop was down, Bishop was out, and they really, really went to bat for me, and I really thank God for each and every one of them. And I think it's really key that we as a church become very intentional about investing more in the operations of the church than we do just church service.
That's
Now,
right.
I believe church service is great and it's important, but I believe the more robust side of ministry is your operational aspect of ministry because that is what really determines the efficacy of your organization and the stick to itiveness or the longevity of your organization as well. And when you have that stuff in place and you're pouring into people, making sure their heart is right, making sure they know how to flow and function in excellence, that's when you can really do something that makes God smile.
Dude, I 100% agree with you. I really do. I believe in church organization. I believe in church leadership. I believe that a great church is not just based on the pastor, that other people that make the church great, other leaders. So my role at the church is making sure that our volunteer staff has what they need, that they're trained and are working. Like it's nothing. I'll put you like this, man, to have people. Say you got ushers. Well, the ushers have to have a main usher, right? You got to have a main usher, right? So they got to
Right.
lead that department. So how do they get what they need? Well, you got to train them up, right? Somebody's got to train them. Not
Yes.
only do you have to know how to organize the sanctuary to sit them, but you also need to teach that person some administrative stuff so that they could call and make sure people are at church volunteering. And when they do have issues, that they know how to handle the issues, that they're not messy and all that other kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that it's more than just, sometimes the pastor preaching on Sunday morning. There's a lot of other work that goes into holding a
The
strong church
behind
together. Yeah,
the behind the scenes stuff, Strick,
right,
even your finance pastor, or your
right.
who everybody has a different name for their finance person, but that's a major entity in the ministry.
It is.
And every ministry must have a strong prayer ministry. I
That's true.
believe that prayer is the oil that makes the engine run. We have Dorothy Lavender, who is our head of our intercessors here at the church, and I believe that prayer has been the secret to our success.
That's
And
good.
prayer is also what really caused me to recover so quick,
Man, that's
because we have a
awesome.
strong culture of prayer in our church, and the people were putting those prayers on me and just believing God, and all those things work together, as you said. And making sure that the cosmetics are right, making sure that we are branding culture, that people understand that, walking into a church should be like walking into an earthly model of heaven.
Wow.
It should be positive, it should be exciting, it should be inviting, and we need to make sure that, like you said, we have people who can not just hold a position, but people who can actually be a leader. And
Right.
there's a difference between a position holder and a leader.
That's true.
And
That's true.
yes,
So I know your background. You were a musician in the church, right?
absolutely.
And I'm a DJ. So one of the things that I love to do is set the atmosphere. Like I understand how, I'm old school, man. MC means move the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to set a scene or atmosphere
All
in a
day.
church to where God can flow and people can be touched. Like I do believe that if you set the atmosphere right, God can speak through every facet from the worship to
Yes.
to the giving to the preaching of the word. Like it can really touch people from the beginning towards the end. And I know that you also have this in you as far as setting a good atmosphere, because I believe your church is known for moves, like godly moves
Yes.
in your sanctuary and in your services. Can you tell me kind of like your, I want to say formula to it, but the idea behind how you allow God to move through your services?
It's interesting, Strick, that you use the terminology formula. I have a formula. I'm gonna make a T-shirt out of it. It's my mantra, something that I came up with years ago. It's simply this: excellence plus the anointing equals a move of God.
I like you. I like you.
See, when you think about that, and Strick, I know you're a man of excellence. I've seen how you operate, and a lot of times we really dummy down the demand for excellence in church, and we really treat church as if it's this little mom and pop movement where, because God loves everybody, that everybody should get a chance to sing, or everybody should get a chance at the mic. And that's just not true. That if there's any institution in the world that should bring it, it should be the church. We
Right.
we should have the best musicians. We should have the best singers. When you read Second Chronicles chapter 20, you will see that Jehoshaphat appointed singers, and not just people who sing, but singers are people who have the gift to sing.
Right.
And so I believe that when we begin to miss out on the move of God, when we dummy down the importance of preparation for worship. I believe in extreme, intense preparation for worship. Like the worship team should practice. Those notes should be in place.
Right.
The choreography is important.
Right.
A lot of times we try to box God in to just the mystical aspect of God, the move of the Spirit, but we don't understand that the Spirit needs a conduit in order for it to get into the earth.
I
And
like
that
that.
conduit is our humanistic strength. It's like He adds His super to our natural.
That's right.
The only thing we can do is just make ourselves available. And we do that by extending ourselves through preparation. We do it as unto the Lord. Every preacher should be an avid reader, a studier of the word, a study of the art of preaching, not just, the spiritual part, but the art is important, because God is not either
That's right.
or. He's both and. He's the art and the anointing.
Right.
He's the
Right.
excellence and the spirit. And that's what
That's
people
right.
don't understand. Like, that God is in that gift. He's the gift, and He's the giver of the gift, and He
Right.
used it as a conduit for the manifestation of His presence. And we have to understand that.
Man, that's so awesome that you would say that. I believe that it is one of my gifts, not just to speak as a pastor, but to be a speaker, the
Yes.
gift of speaking. And then I believe you have to study it. You can be gifted, but you have to study that art, because there's a way to communicate to people, and they don't know that you're doing it, but you're communicating in such a way that is engaging to them. And then they're able to hear the words that God placed inside of you that could be life changing to them. And
Yes.
it is not what the pastors used to do. It's not old. It's new. Sometimes it's just you, like the way God gave you your gift to be able to get it to people. Just study it. I believe that leaders should hone their skills, whether that's singing. My wife, I don't know if you know this. My wife is a jazz flutist. Okay, so she
Wow.
travels playing flute and is very well accomplished. Well, she started to sing on some of her albums. And okay, so
Hmm.
you've been playing this flute since you were in the fourth, fifth grade, and yes, you can hear tones and you know how to be in pitch, but you just started to really sing in public. Guess what? Even the best singers have vocal coaches. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like you had a flute
Yes.
teacher and all of that. You have to have that same thing. You have to hone those skills so that you could present it. And when you're out and she's out in festivals, guess what? It's different to sing a song and then sing a song with confidence
Yes,
that
sir.
you know you're going to
Absolutely.
hit those notes. And she's been doing a great job, but there's always ways that we can get better at all of our crafts. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Absolutely. I think the refining of our gifts is one of our assignments in the earth. The parable of the 5 talents, the two and the one. The master gave these men these talents to work them, to stir them up. Paul told Timothy to stir up the gift. Even people who are intercessors, prayer warriors, it's an art to prayer.
It is. It
You got
is.
to know how to pray. You got to know how to fix your words, and how to request something,
Right.
because God does not operate outside of the grace of prayer. Like he put us in charge of the earth, and he only does what we ask him to do.
Right.
So you got to, and he only moves for what you ask him to do by way of specifics. So I believe, this is one of the things that our young generation is missing, the grind. We're afraid of the grind. And I've been really pouring into a lot of our younger people, our millennials. Embrace the grind, because regardless to how much society has made everything so user friendly, and everything is at our fingertips and available to us, there's always a grind that
That's
is going to
right.
be necessary for you to perform at your best. And that's what it's all about. Practice, as they used to say, practice makes perfect.
That's right. That's right.
It's real. Worshipers should not just sing in rehearsal, they should practice the presence of God,
Worship. They should
because
worship in rehearsal.
exactly, you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
take me where you haven't gone.
That's right.
you know if you're trying to take me into the presence of God, now if you're just trying to put on a concert, then you don't need
You
to
do that.
worship, you just
Right.
need to sing. But if you're trying to usher me into the presence of God, you got to go there first.
That's right. That's right. I'm such a church boy, and you are too. You're pastor, leader, man, and we could go all day talking about this stuff. I absolutely love this. I do a lot of streaming, so I'm in the
Yeah.
content creator movement, and I like that because it teaches me. I'm
Yes.
studying
Yeah.
in my craft so I can get better. I'm getting around other people that does content creation that's further along than me so that I could learn how to do this better. And then the platform that I have is allowing pastors like yourself to be heard outside of the four
Yeah.
walls of your church. I mean, it's going to be people
Absolutely.
today that's going to connect with All Nations Church just because of this opportunity, and a way for your church to know, hey, my pastor, not only is he a great pastor and a great bishop over the state, but he's relatable.
Yeah.
People, he's a cool guy. He was on Strick's show. You're like, that means something to somebody. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? So I want to say this in closing for us. That's the preacher in me, right? You got to go ahead and
Yeah.
set up the closing, right?
Set it up, Reverend.
The conference is coming up, man. Let's talk about the conference. Make sure people know how they can be a part of it, registration and all that kind of stuff.
The Alabama Full Gospel State Virtual Conference, October the 7th through October the 8th. We're going to start with a morning session on the 7th, at 10, night session at 7, and then the same model on the 8th. There's going to be impartation, preaching. I'm going to be doing a live conversation about the church then versus the church now. What's next is going to be the entire theme of that conversation. I believe the Lord has downloaded some things for me that's going to be helpful for those of you that are curious about what the church is going to look like post COVID. If you want to register, it's only $10 for the exposure you're going to get. That's nothing. You can go to our state page on Full Gospel on our Facebook page, our Facebook platform, Alabama Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. Search Alabama Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. Go to our state page. You go to Brushfire. It'll give you the link on that page to go to Brushfire and register. Y'all need to get registered tonight.
I love
If you're a
it.
senior pastor, if you're an aspiring leader in the kingdom, you need to get registered tonight. I'm going to be ministering on that Friday night and closing the conference. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life and really set you on the path and the trajectory you desire to be on in ministry, to see God do his best through you. So please, please go and register tonight.
I love it. I love it. Bishop, man, thank you so very much for your time. We
you, my
talked
friend.
about the conference. Let's end with how they connect with the church as well, whether it's service time, address, and all that kind of stuff. Are you guys open yet? Are you guys doing in-person services yet?
Yes, we are. We are doing in-person worship. We have 2 campuses now, 1 church, 2 locations. We are all nations online, and we are all nations on site. If you would like to attend our worship services, we start at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. We only do 1 service per month during the week. We call it First Wednesday Worship. The rest of them are virtual. That's 1 in-person worship service on Wednesday night. But you can go to our Facebook platform, All Nations Church Fairfield, one of the greatest churches in the world. I promise you, people who show up, they get stuck for some reason. Go to All Nations Church Fairfield, or go to our Instagram platform, which is at ANC Fairfield. I promise you, you'll come in one way, but you'll leave another way. You'll come in broke. You may come in broken, but you'll leave better. And so we're going to look for you. All Nations Church Fairfield. God bless.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Again, Bishop, thanks for hanging out with me tonight, man. I know I've held you longer than I said I would, but man, this has been a great conversation. Hopefully we get a chance to chop it up some more later and hopefully do something else in the future, man. I love your spirit. I think you have an awesome church, and man, you know, I'm working on my singing so I can be a part of Full Gospel. You know what I'm saying?
Come on over, Strick. Come on over. I'm sure Pastor Beavers won't mind. We only meet once a year.
There you go. There you go. Hold what you got,
Thank you for
Pastor.
having me.
Yes, sir. No problem, man. This has been an awesome day. Y'all know how much I really, really love pastors, and I wanted to present Bishop Jonathan Woods to everybody in all nations. I know a lot of people that go over there and had a chance to get exposed to him a couple of years ago, and what a great heart. And you saw it tonight. Be praying for him. He told you about the conference. He told you about his church. Go look him up. Go on Facebook and check them out. And I thank you. And if you haven't done it already, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the channel. All you have to do, you're on YouTube already, just hit subscribe and then hit the bell for notification. Every time I go live, you will know about it. Hey, guys, I got more people coming Thursday nights, 8 p.m. That's Central Standard Time. You got Strick City Live. God bless y'all.